You stared at the empty side of the bed again, the sheets cold and untouched, just like they had been for the past 3 months. Somewhere in the world, your husband was on stage under bright lights with thousands of people screaming his name. But here in this massive house that felt more like a museum than a home, you were completely alone. Bad Bunny, your husband, the man you married 2 years ago when he was still hungry for success, but present in your life. Now you had everything. The fame, the sold-out world tours, the magazine covers, the designer clothes, everything except time for you. You pulled your knees to your chest while scrolling through Instagram, and there he was again at another after party, another club. Another group of models and celebrities hanging off his arms while he smiled that smile that used to be only for you. The comments were all the same. Goals, king, living his best life, but what about you? Your phone buzzed with a text from your best friend, Maria, asking if you were okay because she saw the pictures. You did not reply because what could you say that you were used to it now that you had become a ghost in your own marriage that you could not? Remember the last time he looked at you the way he looked at those crowds. The front door slammed and you heard his voice loud, talking to someone on the phone, laughing while your heart squeezed painfully in your chest because he was home for once. You walked downstairs slowly with your bare feet silent on the marble floor and found him in the kitchen with his back turned to you, still on that phone call with his designer, jacket thrown over a chair and the smell of expensive cologne and alcohol surrounding him. Yo, bro, that show was insane. Did you see how they lost their minds when I brought out the new song? He did not notice you standing there because he never did anymore. You cleared your throat and he turned, barely glancing at you before going back to his conversation, saying, Yeah, hold on. Then he covered the phone and finally looked at you with tired, distant eyes, asking what. That single word felt so cold, so casual, like you were an interruption instead of his wife. You were home. Your voice came out smaller than you wanted, obviously. He turned away again, saying, Nah, bro, nothing important. Continue, nothing important. Those words made you feel something crack inside your chest. Something that had been bending and bending for months, finally snapping clean in half. Can we talk? You tried again, hating how desperate you sounded. He sighed the kind of sigh that said you were bothering him and told you not now because he was exhausted, saying, We will talk later, but later was always later and later never came. Do you even know what today is? The words tumbled out before you could stop them. He froze and his jaw tightened as he looked at his phone. At the date, and you saw it, the moment of realization, the guilt that flashed across his face for exactly 2 seconds before his walls came back up. Look, I had been busy, you know how crazy the tour schedule is. It is our anniversary. Your voice cracked as you said 2 years. We have been married for 2 years today. He ran his hand through his hair doing that gesture he always did when he was annoyed, saying I forgot okay. I'm sorry, I will make it up to you. Like you made up the last 3 months. Your hands were shaking now as you continued like you made up missing my birthday, like you made up every dinner I ate alone every night I slept in this bed by myself while you were out there living like you are still single. Sighs went hard with that defensive look you knew too well, and he asked, so what? You want me to give up my career? You want me to stop performing for people who actually appreciate what I do? The room tilted and you repeated actually appreciate, asking what that meant while tears burned behind your eyes, but you refused to let them fall, not yet. It means, I am tired of coming home to you complaining. He stepped closer, but there was no warmth in it as he continued, all you do is make me feel guilty for being successful. Do you know how many people would kill to be in your position, to have what you have, what I have? You laughed, but it came out broken as you told him I have a husband who does not even look at me anymore, who treats me like I am some kind of burden who forgets I exist unless I'm standing right in front of him demanding attention. Then maybe you should stop demanding it. His words were knives cutting through you as he said, maybe you should get your own life instead of sitting around, waiting for me all the time. Silence fell heavy and suffocating between you as you stared at him, at this stranger wearing your husband's face, wondering when did he become this person? When did you become so small in his eyes? A notification lit up his phone on the counter, and you both looked at a photo of him at the club earlier tonight with a girl sitting on his, lapping his arm around her waist. The caption from a gossip account reading Bad Bunny getting cozy with mystery girl at VIP after party. Your blood turned to ice. He grabbed the phone quickly and said, "It is not what it looks like." "Then what is it?" Your voice was quiet now, deadly quiet. "She was just a fan. We were just taking pictures." "You are overreacting." "Overreacting." You nodded slowly and repeated the word. "Overreacting, right?" Telling him I'm overreacting because my husband, who has not touched me in months, is all over social media with other women. I'm overreacting because you forgot our anniversary. I'm overreacting because you just told me to get my own life sense clearly. I'm not part of yours anymore. Baby. He reached for you, but you stepped back. Do not, just do not. The tears came now, hot and angry and unstoppable, and you turned away. Because you refused to let him see you break. Not anymore because you had done enough breaking for him. You walked toward the stairs with each step feeling like you were moving through water. Where are you going? His voice came from behind you, finally with a hint of concern, but it was too little and too late. You did not answer as you climbed those stairs, went into the bedroom and locked the door, then slid down against it and finally let yourself sob. Through the door you heard him slam something, heard him curse in Spanish. Then heard the front door open and close again because he left. Of course he left. That was what he did best now. You pulled yourself up and walked to the mirror where your eyes were red with mascara running down your cheeks, and you looked at your reflection, barely recognizing yourself, wondering when did you become this girl, this woman who begged for scraps of attention from someone who promised to love her forever. Your wedding photo sat on the dresser and you picked it up, looking at both of you smiling with his arms around you and your head on his chest, so in love, so happy, so stupid. You put the photo face down. Then you pulled out your phone and searched for something you never thought you would need. Divorce lawyers near me. Your finger hovered over the first result as you thought this was crazy. This is your marriage, 2 years together, you made vows. But what about the vow where he promised to cherish you, to be there for you, to choose you every day? Because he broke his vows first. You clicked the number and it rang twice before someone answered saying, "Hello, Rodriguez Law Firm. How can we help you today?" You took a breath, a deep one, the kind that felt like the first real breath you had taken in months. "Hi, I need to file for divorce." The words hung in the air of your empty bedroom like a death sentence to everything you thought your life would be. But somehow saying them out loud made you feel lighter than you had felt in months. Like you were finally taking back control of your own story, instead of being a side character in his. The lawyer on the other end started asking questions about your marriage, about assets, about whether there were children involved, and you answered each one mechanically while staring at that face-down wedding photo. "We will need you to come in for a consultation," the lawyer said. "How does tomorrow at 10 work for you?" "Tomorrow at 10. You glanced at the calendar on your phone and saw that tomorrow he had a radio interview scheduled, which meant he would be gone early and come home late, which meant he would never know you left the house, which meant this was perfect. "That works," you heard yourself say. "Great, we will see you then, Mrs." The lawyer paused. "What name should I put down?" You hesitated because Mrs. felt like a title that no longer belonged to you, like clothes that did not fit anymore. "Just use my first name," you told her, and you gave her your maiden name as a backup, the name you had before you became his wife, the name that suddenly felt like coming home. After you hung up, you sat there on the bedroom floor with your back against the locked door, listening to the silence of a house that was too big and too empty and too full of memories that hurt to look at. You did not sleep that night. Instead, you lay in bed staring at the ceiling and making a mental list of everything that led to this moment. The next morning, you woke up before the sun rose, which was not unusual anymore since sleep had become a stranger to you, just like your husband had, and you heard him moving around downstairs getting ready for that radio interview he probably did not even remember mentioning to you weeks ago. You stayed in bed with your eyes closed, listening to his footsteps, the coffee machine, his phone ringing, his voice low as he answered it, and then finally the front door closing and his car starting in the driveway. Only when the sound of his engine faded completely did you open your eyes and sit up, feeling like you could finally breathe in your own house. You got ready, mechanically putting on a simple black dress, because you were about to go discuss the end of your marriage. and it felt like attending a funeral, which, in a way, you were the funeral of the girl who believed in forever. The law office was in downtown San Juan, a sleek building with glass walls and marble floors, and the lawyer, Mrs. Rodriguez, was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a firm handshake who did not judge you when you sat across from her and started crying before you even said hello. "Tell me everything," she said gently while sliding a box of tissues across her desk. "So you told her about the beginning when he was still struggling and you were his biggest supporter, about how you gave up your own career, plans to travel with him, about the promises he made, about how the fame changed him slowly. Then all at once about the loneliness, the neglect, the other women in photos, the forgotten anniversary, the cruel words." Mrs. Rodriguez listened without interrupting and took notes, and when he finished she looked at you and said, "You know, this is not your fault, right?" Those words broke something open in you because no one had said that to you, not even yourself. You had spent months thinking maybe if you were more understanding, more patient, or pretty more interesting, more anything, he would love you again. "He made vows to you," she continued, "and he broke them. Fame is not an excuse to treat your partner like they do not matter. Success is not a reason to abandon your marriage." You nodded while wiping your eyes, feeling validated for the first time in so long. "The divorce process is straightforward in your case. Since there are no children," she explained, "we will file on the grounds of abandonment. And emotional neglect, given his public profile, we can move quickly, have the papers drawn up by end of week." End of week? That was 4 days away. 4 days until your marriage would officially be over. 4 days until he would know you were serious. "One more thing," Mrs. Rodriguez said, "I need to ask. Are you sure about this? Because once we serve him those papers, there is no going back. He will know, the media will eventually know. This will become very public very fast." You thought about it, really thought about it. Thought about 2 years of marriage and 6 years together total. Thought about the man you fell in love with versus the stranger he became. Thought about all those nights crying alone. Thought about that girl on his lap in that photo. Thought about him calling you nothing important. "I am sure," you said, and you meant it. When you got home, the house was still empty, and you stood in the foyer looking at everything differently now, like you were already a ghost haunting your own life. You walked through each room and started removing yourself from them piece by piece. Not dramatically, not obviously, just quietly erasing your presence. First, you took down the photos of the two of you from the living room walls and packed them in a box. Then you removed your books from the shared bookshelf. Then your favorite blanket from the couch. Then your special coffee mug from the kitchen. You moved your clothes from the master bedroom closet to the guest room, not all of them, because you did not want him to notice immediately, just enough that you would have what you needed. The guest room became your room, your sanctuary, and you made it yours with your things, your space, your peace. When he came home that night around 11, you heard him call your name from downstairs. You did not answer. He called again, louder this time, and you heard his footsteps coming up the stairs, heard him open the master bedroom door. "Baby, where are you?" You stayed quiet in the guest room with the door locked and the lights off. He tried the guest room door and found it locked, then knocked and said, "Are you in there? Are you seriously still mad about yesterday? Still mad, like your pain had an expiration date, like you were supposed to just get over it?" You did not respond, and eventually you heard him walk away muttering something in Spanish that you did not care to understand anymore. The next few days followed the same pattern. He would leave early, you would live your life. He would come home late expecting you to be waiting, and you would be in the guest room with the door locked. He texted you during the day asking if you were okay, if you needed anything, saying you would try to come home earlier. But he never did, and you stopped reading his messages after the first day. You stopped cooking his favorite meals, stopped doing his laundry, stopped leaving the lights on for him, stopped pretending this was a home instead of just a house where two strangers lived. On the 4th day, Mrs. Rodriguez called to tell you the papers are ready and asked if you wanted to serve them yourself or have a process server do it. Process server, you said, because you did not trust yourself to hand him those papers without breaking down, and she said she would arrange it for tomorrow evening when he was likely to be home. That night, you were in the guest room reading when you heard him come home, and this time he did not call for you. Instead, you heard him go straight to the master bedroom, heard drawers opening, heard his frustrated sigh when he realized more of your things were gone. His footsteps came to the guest room and he knocked, not aggressively but firmly. "We need to talk," he said through the door. You marked your page and got up, unlocked the door and opened it, standing in the doorway so he could not come in. He looked tired, more tired than usual, with dark circles under his eyes and his hair messy like he had been running his hands through it. "What is going on with you?" he asked. "Why are you acting like this?" "Acting like what?" You responded calmly. "Like this, distant, cold. You've not spoken to me in days. You locked yourself in the guest room. You moved your stuff." "You noticed," you said, surprising yourself with how steady your voice was. "Of course I noticed," he said, and he sounded genuinely confused, like he could not understand why you would change, like he had the right to be upset about your distance after months of his own. "I am just giving you what you wanted." You told him, "My own life, remember. You said I should stop waiting around for you." "That is not," he started, then stopped, running his hand through his hair again. "I did not mean it like that. I was stressed. I said things I should not have said." "You said things you meant." You corrected him. "You said I was nothing important. You said I make you feel guilty. You said people would kill to be in my position, so I'm getting out of your way." "Baby, no." He reached for your hand, but you pulled back. "Do not touch me." He looked hurt, and you almost felt bad until you remembered every time you reached for him and he pulled away. Every time you needed him and he was not there. Every time you cried alone while he was out living his best life. "I am sorry," he said quietly. "I know I messed up. I know I have not been a good husband lately. But we can fix this. I will do better. I will make more time for us." "Lately," you repeated, "not a good husband lately. Like this was a recent problem and not months of neglect." "I mean it," he insisted. "Starting next week, I will clear my schedule more. We can go on that trip you wanted. We can work on this." "Next week," you said. Always next week, next month, later, eventually, never now. He did not have an answer for that. "You are not in love with me anymore," you told him, and maybe that was okay. Maybe people fall out of love, but you could have been honest about it instead of making me feel crazy for wanting my own husband to care about me. "That is not true," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "I do love you." "No," you shook your head. You love the idea of having a wife waiting at home while you live your life you love having. Someone to come back to when you are done with everyone else, but you do not love me. You do not even know me anymore. Silence fell between you heavy with truth that he could not deny. And you saw something shift in his eyes. Maybe realization, maybe fear, maybe both. "I want to fix this," he said again, but weaker this time. "Some things are too broken to fix," you told him. And with that, you closed the guest room door and locked it, leaving him standing in the hallway. You heard him stay there for a long moment before finally walking away, and you pressed your back against the door, wondering if you were making the biggest mistake of your life or finally making the right choice. The next evening, you were working on your laptop in the guest room when the doorbell rang. Your heart jumped because you knew what that was, who that was, and you heard him answer the door downstairs, heard male voices, heard papers rustling. Then you heard nothing for a long moment before you heard him say, "What the fuck is this?" and his footsteps thundered up the stairs. He did not knock this time, just tried to open the door and found it locked, then pounded on it. "Open this door," his voice was shaking. "Open it right now." You took a deep breath and opened it to find him standing there with the divorce papers in his hand and his face completely pale. "What is this?" He held up the papers. "What the fuck is this?" "You can read," you said quietly. "This says you are divorcing me." His voice cracked on the word divorcing like he could not believe it was real. "You're divorcing me. When were you going to tell me?" "I just did." You gestured to the papers. "This is insane," he said, pacing back and forth in the hallway. "You cannot just divorce me. We are married. We made vows." "You made vows too," you reminded him, and you broke every single one. "So this is it." He turned to you with wild eyes. "I mess up for a few months and you just give up on us. On our marriage, on everything we built together. A few months, you felt anger rise in your chest. Try 6 months of you treating me like I do not exist. 6 months of me crying myself to sleep. 6 months of watching you with other women in every photo. 6 months of being completely alone while still being married." "I never cheated on you," he said defensively. "You did not have to. Emotional abandonment is still abandonment. Making me feel worthless is still abuse. and I am done. So that is it. You are just done. He laughed, but it sounded broken. Years together, and you are just walking away. I am not walking away, you corrected him. I am running from someone who made me forget what I deserve. And what I deserve is someone who actually wants to be with me. He stared at you like he was seeing you for the first time, really seeing you, and his eyes filled with tears. Please, he whispered, please do not do this. I know I messed up, but I can change. I will change. Just give me another chance. I gave you chances, you said. Every day for 6 months, I gave you chances, and you wasted every single one. Baby, please. He stepped closer, and you saw tears actually falling down his face now. I cannot lose you. I love you. You loved the version of me that did not ask for anything, you told him. But I am asking now. I'm asking for a divorce. He shook his head frantically and said, no, I will not sign these. You cannot make me. Actually, I can. You said, if you refuse to sign, the court will grant it anyway. This is happening whether you cooperate or not. The look on his face was pure devastation, and some broken part of you wanted to take it all back, wanted to comfort him, wanted to fix him, but you had spent too long trying to fix him while breaking yourself. How long? He asked quietly. How long have you been planning this? Since you told me to get my own life, you answered honestly. Since you called me nothing important. Since you made me realize I deserve better than being an afterthought in your life. He slid down the wall right there in the hallway and sat on the floor with his head in his hands, and you watched him fall apart the way you had, fallen apart so many times alone while he was out there living his life. I did not think you would actually leave, he said through his tears. I thought you would always be here. I thought I had time to fix things. That is the problem. You told him you took me for granted. You thought I would wait forever no matter how badly you treated me. And maybe the old me would have, but I am not her anymore. Who changed you? He looked up at you with red eyes. Who made you like this? You did, you said simply. You changed me by showing me what I will not tolerate anymore, by teaching me that love should not feel like begging. He stood up slowly and wiped his face, looking at you with something desperate in his eyes that you had never seen before. Tell me what to do, he said. Tell me how to fix this, and I will do it. I will cancel the tour. I will quit music. I will do anything. I do not want you to quit music, you told him. I never wanted that. I just wanted you to make space for me in your life. But you have proven over and over that you cannot do that or you will not do that. And either way, I am done waiting. The next few days were hell because he did not leave. He stayed home canceling interviews and appearances and studio sessions. And he followed you around the house trying to talk to you, trying to make you change your mind. He made you breakfasts that you did not eat. He bought you flowers that you left on the counter. He played your favorite songs that you ignored. He tried everything except actually listening when you said it was over. On the third day, you came downstairs to find him sitting in the living room with his guitar, something you had not seen him do at home in months, and he started playing the song he wrote for you when you first started dating. You stood in the doorway listening despite yourself because that song used to make you feel like the most special person in the world, but now it just made you sad for everything you lost. When he finished, he looked at you with hope in his eyes and asked, Do you remember when I wrote this for you? Do you remember how happy we were? I remember, you said, but that was a different version of us. That was before fame, before you decided everything else was more important than me. Nothing is more important than you, he insisted. I know I made you feel that way, but it is not true. You are the most important thing in my life. Then why did it take divorce papers for you to realize that? You asked, why did I have to leave before you decided to care? Why was my pain not enough? Why did it have to get to this point before you woke up? He did not have an answer, and you were tired of questions that he could not answer. I'm going to stay with Maria for a few days. You told him, I need space, and you need to accept that this is really happening. No, he stood up quickly. Do not leave. Please just stay. We can figure this out if you just stay. There is nothing to figure out. You said, I already made my decision. The papers are filed. I am meeting with my lawyer next week to finalize everything. His face crumpled again, but you forced yourself to stay strong. Forced yourself to remember every lonely night, every ignored text, every time he chose literally anything over you. You went upstairs and packed a bag while he stood in the doorway of the guest room, watching you with tears streaming down his face. "This is really it," he said. "You are really leaving me." "I left months ago emotionally," you told him. "I am just making it official now." When he finished packing, you walked past him and he grabbed your wrist gently, not hard, just desperate. "Please, one more chance, just one more." You pulled your wrist free and said, "I gave you hundreds of chances and you wasted every single one. I have nothing left to give you." Maria picked you up 20 minutes later and you did not look back at the house or at him standing in the doorway looking completely destroyed, because if you looked back, you might break, and you had done enough breaking for him. At Maria's apartment, you finally let yourself breathe, really breathe, and she made you tea and let you talk or not talk, whatever you needed, and for the first time in months, you felt like yourself again. Your phone would not stop ringing with his calls and texts. Dozens of them, hundreds of them over the next few days. "Please come home. I am sorry. I love you. I cannot do this without you. Please, baby, please. I am falling apart. The house is empty without you. I made a mistake. Please, just talk to me." You read them but did not respond because what was there to say? Sorry was not enough. Love was not enough. Nothing was enough to undo months of damage. Maria showed you a news article on day 5. Bad Bunny cancels remaining tour dates citing personal emergency. Fans worried. "He actually did it," she said, looking at you. "He canceled the tour." You felt nothing, or maybe you felt everything, but it was too late because he should have made you the priority before it got to this point, not after. Another article appeared the next day. Bad Bunny spotted looking distressed outside law office. Divorce rumors swirl. So it was public now. The whole world knew your marriage was ending, and your phone exploded with messages from people you had not talked to in years, asking if you were okay, if the rumors were true, offering their opinions that you did not ask for. You turned your phone off. On day 7, Maria told you someone was at the door for you, and when you looked through the peephole, you saw him standing there looking like he had not slept in a week, which he probably had not. You opened the door but did not invite him in. "How did you know I was here?" you asked. "Where else would you be?" he said. "Maria is your best friend. What do you want?" "To talk just 5 minutes, please." You looked at Maria, who nodded that it was okay. So you stepped outside and closed the door behind you. He looked terrible, hair unwashed, clothes wrinkled, eyes bloodshot. And some horrible part of you was glad because he should look how you felt all those months. "I signed the papers," he said quietly. "I did not want to, but my lawyer said you were right, that you could get the divorce with or without my cooperation, so I signed them." "Okay," you said. "Okay," he repeated. "That is all you have to say. Okay." "What do you want me to say?" you asked. "Thank you." "I want you to say you will reconsider." He stepped closer. "I want you to say that maybe we can try therapy, that maybe we can work on this, that maybe you still love me even a little bit." "I do love you," you admitted, and his face lit up with hope until you continued, "but I love myself more now. And I know that staying with you would mean going back to being that girl who cried every night, and I cannot do that to myself anymore." So that is it. His voice broke. 2 years of marriage, and you just throw it away. "I am not throwing it away," you said firmly. "You threw it away months ago when you decided I did not matter. I am just cleaning up the mess you made." He made a sound that was half sob, half laugh, and said, "You have changed so much. You never used to be this cold." "You made me cold," you told him. "You cannot keep hurting someone and expect them to stay soft. I had to become cold to survive being married to you." That hit him hard, and he actually took a step back, like you had physically pushed him. "I never wanted to hurt you," he whispered. "I swear I never wanted this." "But you did hurt me. Every day for months you hurt me, and wanting not to hurt me is not the same as actually not hurting me." He wiped his eyes and looked at you with so much pain that you almost broke your own resolve, almost reached for him, almost said you would try again. But then you remembered and you stayed strong. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Sure. When did you stop loving me? Like, really stop? When did you give up?" You thought about it, really thought about it, and said, "I think it was that night of our anniversary when you came home drunk and called me nothing important. That was when something inside me just turned off, like a switch, and I realized I would rather be alone than feel alone next to you." He nodded slowly like he understood. like he had been waiting for this answer. "I wish I could go back," he said. "I wish I could undo everything. I wish I had appreciated you when I had you." "But you cannot go back," you said gently. "None of us can. We can only move forward. And moving forward for you means without me." "It has to," you told him, "because I spent 6 months trying to make you see me and you did not. And now that I am leaving suddenly, you see me. But I cannot build a marriage on the foundation of you only loving me when you were losing me." He broke down completely then, sobbing in a way that would have destroyed you a week ago. But now you just felt sad and tired and ready for this to be over. "I am sorry," he kept saying over and over. "I am so sorry." "I know you are," you said, "and I forgive you. But forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. It just means I am not carrying your mistakes with me anymore." You turned to go back inside and he called your name one last time. "Yeah, will you ever think about me?" he asked. "Years from now when you have moved on and are happy, will you ever think about us?" Promptly you said, "Honestly, you were a big part of my life. But I will think about us the way you think about lessons learned, not about chances missed." And with that you went inside and closed the door, leaving him standing in the hallway of Maria's building, leaving him in your past where he belonged. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized and you signed the papers in Mrs. Rodriguez's office with a steady hand and a clear mind. You left San Juan after that, took that job offer in New York that you had turned down 2 years ago to follow his dreams instead of your own, and you started building a life that was completely yours. Sometimes late at night you would see his music videos or his pictures online, and you would feel a small ache in your chest, not because you wanted him back, but because you mourned the version of him you fell in love with, the one who got lost somewhere between fame and fortune. But mostly you felt free, lighter, happier, like you had finally learned how to breathe after holding your breath for so long. And when people asked about your ex-husband, the famous singer, you would smile and say, "We loved each other once." But sometimes love is not enough. Sometimes you have to love yourself more. 6 months after the divorce, you were at a coffee shop in Manhattan when your phone buzzed with a notification. Bad Bunny releases a new album dedicated to lost love, and you did not click on it because that chapter of your life was closed. You ordered your coffee, stepped out into the New York morning, and walked toward your future without looking back because you had finally learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let go of someone who already let go of you. And somewhere in San Juan, he was probably in a studio pouring his regret into lyrics that millions would stream, turning your pain into profit, turning your story into content. But you were okay with that because you knew something he never would. You knew that you cannot build a life on almost enough. Maybe someday on next time, I promise. You needed someone who chose you every single day without you having to beg for it. And until you found that person, you were perfectly happy choosing yourself, which was something you should have done a long time ago. But better late than never. The end.